Welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio with another update on some more Last Chancers. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to make sure to like and subscribe. It is absolutely free and really helps to support the channel and helps me to grow. If you enjoy Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, and Horus Heresy, Warhammer Underworlds, pretty much anything to do with tabletop wargaming, especially Games Workshop products, make sure to check us out. We do release at least one video every single day. So that being said, what we're taking a look at here is we have more of our last chance to buys. So we recently were just talking about the new Underworld set coming out and talking about essentially some prices and everything going on there. And now we have noticed that some of the older some of the older Underworlds warbands that no longer were available with the cards were still available with the models alone as separate kits, and now we see basically all those are going away. So we can see essentially some of these were from the old box sets, some of them were just individual sets that you could buy with the cards separately, but at this point in time now they are all just model kits and they are all going away. So we see they're priced at various levels based on essentially kind of how old they are. So we see some of them at $27, others are at $35, and then I think there was some in between. Looks like a bunch of 27s and a bunch of 35s actually. So yeah, all between $27 and $35, or either $27 or $35, depending on how recently they came out. Like this was one of the more recent sets that came out, and it had these two warbands in it. And now what gave us an idea that things might be changing was the fact that we recently just saw they put out like a foes of the Netherdeep set, or something like that, and it was essentially the two Underworlds warbands from the most recent set. And so not only are all of these going away, these are just the actual models themselves, which there's some cool ones here. Honestly, like quite a few of these sculpts are like pretty cool on their own. And then if you kind of go down here, a lot of them are super unique. Like this troll is pretty cool. He's pretty unique. I really like these Skaven, but the new Skaven just blow them out of the water. These goblins are super cool. I mean, just going through here, a bunch of these are cool. There's like a cool hag here. I really like this one. It's got like the ogre with the bolt thrower. And then there's like a, man trap, like an actual, trap. And then we have like an ice tiger type deal, or whatever they're actually called. Pretty cool sets overall. But, after noticing them, I was kind of messing around a little bit on GW's site. And I was curious, knowing that new Underworlds box is coming out. And then I actually noticed that they already got rid of the other box. So we were just talking about how essentially the price jumped from the starter set to the regular box set. It was like $60 to $95, and it was a pretty big bump up. There are some other sets that came out in the meantime that were like $70 or so in between there. I understand there's a little difference between the actual starter set itself and the main box set. But we know now that the last box set, because we were talking about it was weird that they had two of these sets available at the same time, and they have actually removed the other set. So now we know the new one is coming on pre-order next week, and in the meantime the other one is gone. So you'll still be able to buy those models starting next week at $80 for the two sets of models, but the game itself will no longer be available at $95. So interesting little development there, especially because we're watching it happen in real time. So we know at this point in time that, Underworlds isn't going anywhere. They're not getting rid of the game, but they are having a new expansion come out. And with that new expansion, they're getting rid of the old game, and then also some of like the card packs and everything. We're on like some last chance to buy here and stuff too. But as far as the actual old Underworlds warbands, we talked about this in a video not too long ago about how it was cool that they offered these models individually without the cards. But it looks like all of these are going away as well. So this is kind of like last chance to grab these guys after the last chance. So we already had a last chance to get them as their actual set, and now it's just the last chance to get the actual models. But, honestly, if you're an Underworlds player, you probably had plenty of time to get these. If you're just somebody looking for like some cool models, this is a good place to start, especially for some of the ranges that haven't been upgraded recently. But I did think that was pretty interesting, seeing that all this stuff is going away too. I just wanted to bring it with you guys. Some people had asked me quite a bit about, what was my opinion on the whole situation. To tell you the truth, it could go either way, honestly. I Let me put it this way. We know what Games Workshop does and doesn't like because we see lots of it or very little of it. You know, if they like to do something or don't like to do something, we see their behavior pretty stereotypically in line with that. So we know in general, Games Workshop does not like keeping stock. They don't want to have to store it. They don't want to have to worry about it. They don't want to have to worry about moving it. They don't want to worry about it depreciating, anything. Games Workshop loves to just make a bunch of something at once and then sell all of it. And if they don't sell it all to the end consumer, they want to at least sell it to other shops. So somebody else is storing that product and has already paid for it and everything. So that's like how they like to operate. So we know that. Well, at this point in time, with everything going on in the world, we know a lot of stuff has been supply chains breaking down and whatnot. So we have seen some different types of behavior. And it seems like what Games Workshop is going for, these small little kits, even though they don't take up a lot of room on the storage shelves, there's so many of them and they probably don't sell that well. We had talked about it with the characters recently about how every Dark Elf player or Drukhari player could buy one of this character, or every Necron player or Orc player could buy one of this character, because they're like characters, like specific unique name characters. So even if you have 10% of the overall population of people that are willing to buy anything Games Workshop, even if 10% of them play Orcs, you're only ever going to sell them one Captain Badruck. As where with like Orc Boys, you might be able to sell them 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And when you start timesing that out by how many people are going to play an army or not play an army, you start realizing that actually like these individual characters are probably the worst selling things for GW. So we notice that they're rolling out a lot of these. A lot of these that are otherwise offered some other way, like a Necron Overlord, maybe not offered specifically with the War Scythe, but there's different options on other Necron Lords. Or we see these characters, you know, where it's a unique character you're only ever going to take one of. Or these Warbands where maybe people are going to buy one for a little flavor. You know, a lot of the older terrain pieces. We're just seeing a lot of these things kind of roll off the line. So, and then like the Hematite or Hemotrope Reactor, we just recently saw that in a box set of terrain. So maybe they were just trying to move a lot of that, and then it didn't show up in the most recent Kill Team set with a bunch of the other terrain, and now a lot of that terrain's going away. So it seems like they're just trying to clear out a lot of this old stock and make room for new stuff. I mean, it's no secret that they are releasing stuff every single week, and you know, it's just getting like more intense. The more and more they sell, the more and more they release, the bigger the boxes, the higher the prices. So we're seeing clearly there's an issue with them wanting to, having to, or needing to store this old product. So with the range rotations, I think that's their way of just doing these things once every 6 months or once every year, or every couple years, where they bring it back. Everybody's like, oh, it's back again. And everybody that was thinking about buying it before but missed their chance now rushes out and buys it. Or alternatively, they say it's about to go away. So everybody that was thinking about buying it but hasn't yet rushes out and buys it. They clear out the rest of the stock. And then when Games Workshop's ready, they can pull those molds back out. They can remake this stuff again, etc. So some of this stuff is clearly going to come back eventually. They've called it range rotations. We've seen that. Some of it may never come back. You know, like things like this universal card deck, etc. So we'll see what happens. People have speculated that it was because some of this stuff was resin, some of it was metal. I don't think it has anything to do with trying to get rid of resin or trying to get rid of metal specifically. I think it has to do with the actual models. Some of these maybe never come back because they get a new model to replace it instead. Some of these, you know, might come back with brand new kits or as the old kit instead of metal coming back in resin. You know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but overall, it's safe to assume that Games Workshop just doesn't want to store a bunch of these random blisters to occasionally just shift one to here or there, etc. So most of these are single models. A lot of them are characters. We see the small little box Warbands, which again, they don't take up a ton of space, but just having that in the existing model line means it's one more thing that they have to worry about, you know, making more of or keeping up a stock or somebody ordering. So by basically decreasing the amount of things in their catalog or that's available, it makes it simpler on them because they don't have to keep track of all that stuff. They don't have to store it. They don't have to make it, etc. So they can basically just throw whatever they need to make it in the future into storage, lock it up, and then once a year, bust it out, do a limited run, and it, you know, back into storage after that. So I suspect that a lot of this has to do with them not wanting to have to store this stuff. Now, things like this, like the subcloister and storage fane, this is available in the starter set. So I think they're just figuring, we'll get rid of this as an individual kit. If you want it, you can still get it in the starter set or somehow through third party, retailer or reseller or whatever, but we're not going to actually sell it. Some of the Mechanica stuff, some of this older stuff, this terrain pieces have been available for some of these for over 10 years. So at this point in time, the amount of new people that's just coming in and buying this probably isn't that high. So if one day they want to bring back the Wall of Martyrs and do a limited run for all the Wall of Martyrs pieces, they can. But in the meantime, there's probably not enough just regular demand coming in that it's worth them still offering this stuff. Because at some point in time, they're losing money by even just having it to where it's a possibility to make. Or if they do a run of something, say they make 1,000 of something, and then they sell 100 of them, and then it takes them another 5 years to sell the other 900, they basically are losing money on that because they're tying up capital, sitting around, they're storing it for the next 9-10 years, whatever, while they should be putting something else more important in that space, or making something else with that time or with that effort, etc. So that's what I think's going on. I think basically Games Workshop is just going through, figuring out what's not selling that well, or what's older, or what's taking up a bunch of space, and then they're just getting rid of it. So we see them clearing out like another 60 or so models, including that terrain that we talked about last time, including all those old warbands, and then a bunch of characters as well. So, if you're looking for them, snag them up while you have the chance. If not, they'll be back around eventually, or eventually they'll get replaced by something else. You always have third-party market as well. So is it part FOMO? Maybe a little bit. I think it's a good idea. You tell people they're going away, but some of this stuff they didn't announce. Is it basically them just getting rid of it so they don't have to make stuff, so they can decrease their catalog, so they can just make everything a little easier and not have to worry about storage costs and all that? I think that's really what it comes down to. So you let me know what you think down below. I'm not trying to generate any extra FOMO for them or, get anybody like pumped up or mad or happy or anything in specific. I just wanted to kind of talk about this. We just noticed there's more and more of it coming, and it seems to be escalating. At first it was a couple Space Marines. Now it's kind of picking up. Now it's all the old, Warbands, which who knows, we may never see these come back. I doubt we do. So we'll see how it all plays out in the end, but always curious to hear your guys' opinions. So let me know down below. Going to go ahead and wrap it up there. If you do enjoy this kind of like news, reactions, reviews, painting, modeling, tutorials, or you like to see our commissions as they go out of the studio, we do show all that off on the channel as well. Basically for anything from Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, Underworlds, Horus Heresy, D&D, pretty much anything tabletop, hobby related / gaming. But that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man. Let me know what you think and make sure to subscribe.